Hey y'alls, it's Live as I Drive over here at the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. That counts. That sounded weird at the end there, but I'm your host, Richard Burns. Right now, you know what? Right now, I'm at a spot and I'm trying to check this thing out right here. I don't know. I usually have some challenges when it comes to the Live as I Drive for some reason. Waiting for what? Should already be on. Okay, here we go. There are a number of links in the description below that I want to call your attention to. And just to make sure that it's a more satisfying experience as you go through the links, go ahead and subscribe. Give it a like. Share the video. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that comes out. So in the description below, you're going to find at least 3 links to 3 different brokers, all of which reward you. Elevated, what's going on, brother? All of which will reward you for opening up an account and funding that account. The different brokers offer different incentives. Some will offer you cash, some will offer you shares, even fractional shares if you open and fund. Yeah. So, let me apologize in advance. If you've never been on while I do a Live as I Drive, and I'm currently at a pilot, in West Texas. I don't know how far west I am, but I'm still in West Texas. I'm out by the oil fields. I'm by the Permian Basin. So I'm already experiencing operational difficulties right now as I'm looking at the... Sure. So what's the title? The title is The Real Threat. That's the title. I'll go off into a tangent because that's usually what I do. I imagine that it drives the professor crazy on my Saturday Night Lives because she likes to stay on task. And I'm all over the place most of the time. Someone who's organized can potentially go crazy dealing with the fact that I'm all over the place. Right, so let's get started. Let's get moving. I'm hoping that the microphone is working well. And I'm also hoping that I'll have consistent signal. That's a tough one. Especially out here in the Permian Basin, there's a lot of open territory. I see electrical lines and poles of every kind, but they don't all look like they have the transmitters for the Wi-Fi or anything like that. I'm chopping. Yeah, see? I'm already chopping. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this guy's making a career out of backing up into the spot. And it really ain't that serious. So the real threat, when I'm talking about the real threat, I know that some people like to make content and protest through their content, actually physically going out and protesting as well. And now that Elevated is here, I'm gonna transition into the difference between trading and investing, because I would like some people to know the difference. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, and hopefully I'll be able to keep some kind of signal that would be less frustrating to listen to and watch. Now, going back to what I was saying about the threat. If you've ever participated in a sport, baseball, basketball, soccer, tennis, judo, boxing, and you're participating in these sports and competing in these sports, when you're a part of the group that's competing at a high level, you don't consider newcomers that have little to no experience to be threats. They're not a threat to your competitive edge. And in our society, and I would imagine in societies throughout the world, when it comes to the social structures that they have in most parts of the world, or every part of the world, I don't know, definitely here in the United States, if you're not a part of the wealthy class, you don't pose a threat to the expansion of somebody's wealth. So you can protest all you want, you can complain all you want, you can set up your own channel, your own podcast. You can point out a variety of issues, make a number of complaints. You're not a financial threat. I'm going to put it that way. You're not a financial threat. You're not the type of person that the wealthy needs to really figure out some way to maneuver around you. The vast majority of people in our society, the vast majority, they don't understand what money is, what it represents, and how to manage it effectively. And so as a result, they're not a financial threat. But you will have personalities every now and then that will educate people as to how to manage money and make a difference, make a financial difference to a large group of people. Two examples are Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. If you know anything about that history, you know where they wound up. But I want to segue into the difference between trading and investing. And I bring it up now because of what's been happening in the oil market. And an investor, a long-term investor, they don't get caught up in all the noise that you'll hear in the news or in the regular news or in the financial news networks that exist. They don't really worry a whole lot about that. It's not the type of information that comes out that makes a person want to go looking into their portfolio to see where they're at. The long-term investor is more concerned with locking into companies that they want to buy into that can survive a variety of situations, a variety of financial threats. Look at Coca-Cola is the type of company that I would personally buy. By the way, this is not financial advice. This is not investment advice. This is not tax advice. There. What I could say about Coca-Cola is that take a look at what Coca-Cola has. Purchase shares of Coca-Cola. I'm not gonna lose sleep when all these different events pop up, like right now with what's going on with Iran. Because if I purchase Coca-Cola, it would be for long-term investing. It would be for me to buy the shares and hold them. How long am I going to hold them for? Could be years. Long-term is generally a 5-year or more horizon. And being that Coca-Cola provides a dividend, a decent dividend at that, it's something that I would buy. Me personally, I would buy it and hold it. Now, out of curiosity, before I buy Coca-Cola, I would like to know a little bit about its history. I know Coca-Cola is everywhere, not just here in the United States, but it's all over the world. So it's a big deal. Now you can get into all the details as to how being sold throughout the world, how it impacts their bottom line with the different currencies that they have to deal with, and the changes in currency values and things like that. You can get into all that if you want to. But before I even go there, well, I'm not going there, but yeah, see, so I got to get reconnected because the signal out here comes and goes. I apologize for that. Right now it's showing me that I got some high power streaming. That's one of the downfalls of the live as I drive. But so I check into Coca-Cola's history. They've been around since the mid to late 1800s. Now, I'm thinking. So let's say it was 1870. I don't know exactly. I mean, I can find out right now. I can do that. I got the power to do that. I'm gonna look it up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. I got distracted. It happens sometimes when you're on the road. When was Coca-Cola first created? 1886, y'alls. So, since 1886, Coca-Cola's been around. What does that mean? To me, I'm considering events that occurred in the United States and throughout the world that could have meant the end of Coca-Cola. 1886. So right around that time, there was a depression. Yeah, there was a depression. Coca-Cola survived that. We had the Spanish-American War. Coca-Cola survived that. We had World War I, and Coca-Cola survived that. We had World War II, the Great Depression, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, the stock market crash of 1929, the stock market crash of 2000, 2008, the economic downturn of 2008, the downturn as a result of COVID. Coca-Cola's still here. So to me, I think it's a strong enough company for me to want to invest. To me, it happens to be one of the 5 fingers of the helping hand that I've recommended in previous videos. I don't know which ones, I can't remember, but I have recommended it. Wasn't financial advice when I mentioned it, and it's not financial advice now. However, did I worry about how Coca-Cola was doing as a result of the bombing of Iran? Nope. How about what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz and how Iran is planting mines in Hormuz, in the Strait of Hormuz? Nope. I'm not concerned about that. Why would I? Why would I be? So as a long-term investor, I'm not going to be so concerned about these events that you'll hear on the news. Now, as a trader, oh, well, that's different. When you trade, you have short-term exposure to these stocks. You can have exposure that lasts weeks, months, days, hours, minutes. Short-term exposure. Let's say, for example, I decided to trade oil futures. Okay? And my time horizon was maybe a month. And I decided to get involved in oil futures when I noticed that the oil price went from $58 a barrel to $63 a barrel. And I started listening to the news, and the news said the U.S. is not liking what's going on with Iran. And our government is talking about handling that. Okay. Handling Iran, to me, sounds like there could potentially be some action against Iran that could disrupt oil industry. Remember, the oil industry is global. It's not local. It's not something that's controlled by only one country, and it's definitely not controlled by the United States. As a result, if I put my trader hat on and the barrel of oil is at 63 and I'm hearing all this talk about handling business against an oil producing nation that could potentially disrupt the flow of natural gas and oil, yeah, I may just trade oil futures to take advantage of an increase in the price of the oil barrel, of a barrel of oil. And I would have been very pleased when Iran was handled and the price shot up to $120 a barrel. Yeah, fantastic for me as a trader. Not fantastic for the people that were hurt as the country was being handled. That's never a good thing. Now, but the reality is that these conflicts do occur, and no matter how much you would prefer that these conflicts never occur, the reality is that they do. And it just so happens that there's a defense company that's also another one of the fingers in the helping hand, because it's a reality. Now, here it is, the barrel of oil sitting at 120. I got in when it was 63. Without getting into the details of what price I would have bought for a futures contract, the bottom line is that it went in the direction that I wanted it to go, which was up. I'm talking about the price of a barrel of oil. It went in the direction, and it went up by a lot. Awesome. But here's the thing with trading, right? When I got in, I told you I had a 1 month horizon, time horizon, 1 month. But before the month way before the month was up. Let's say I went in 2 weeks before it shot up to $120 a barrel. I'm listening to speculators say this thing can easily go up to $150 a barrel. As a trader, so I'm 2 weeks in, right? I'm 2 weeks into this trade. Remember, my time horizon is a month, 1 month out. So I got another 2 weeks to go, and these professionals are talking about, these professional analysts are talking about $150 a barrel. Yeah, well, yeah, I'll hang on. And then there's a report that comes out. As a result of the report, Trump is saying that what's going on in Iran is complete. I don't know. I personally don't know what complete means. But the institutional investors interpreted what he said as this business with Iran is just about resolved. We don't have to worry about the flow of oil. We don't have to worry about the production of oil so much. And the price of the barrel of oil went from $120 down to $85 a barrel. As a trader, when it went to $120, I would have been sitting high. And if I allow my feelings to get into it, I would have been feeling amazing. I would have been feeling awesome. And when it dropped to $85 a barrel, I would have been feeling terrible, disappointed. So with the trading, there could be some emotion involved. And we would have been constantly paying attention to everything that's going on, checking my portfolio every 10 minutes, checking the futures market before I go to sleep. If I go to pee in the middle of the night, I'll be checking my portfolio in the middle of the night, or I'll be checking something, any news related to the movement of the oil market. So as a trader, you have extra exposure to risk for a short time frame. And that risk can change depending on forces that have nothing to do with the productivity of a company, if you're dealing with stock, or certain commodities, or the performance of companies that deal with these commodities. For example, ExxonMobil, or Chevron, or BP. You could do short-term trading with the companies I just mentioned, but you can also be a long-term investor with those companies that I just mentioned. And if you're a long-term investor, again, you're not going to be concerned with all this stuff that's going on. ExxonMobil is going to be around. Chevron is going to be around. Corporations that extract oil in different parts of the world, they're going to be around. Aramco is going to be around. These corporations that I just mentioned, the price of their shares aren't going to be anywhere near as volatile as the commodity that they produce. But just so that you understand, as a trader, depending on your time horizon, there could be a lot of volatility that can cause the price of whatever it is to go up and down by a lot. And depending on when it happens, it can help you or it can hurt you immediately. But that's the risk you take when you want to be a trader. Pretty wild. It is so incredibly windy out here in these parts. Close to maximum weight, which is 80,000 pounds, and I got the wind shoving me from side to side. You probably can't detect that on the stream, but and I think it was it here on 20? I don't remember if it was here in Texas on I-20 or on I-10, where there were 3 trucks that got flipped on their side, right next to one another. 2 on the westbound side and 1 on the eastbound side, in the same area, in the same spot. So these winds could be no joke. So where's oil at now? Let's see. Oils right now. Let's see. Oh man, I'm lost. Oils. It's at $87 right now. $87.32 now for a barrel of oil. So it's going back up. And the market is not responding very well to that. Yeah, the market is not responding very well to whatever it is that's going on. So you got the indexes, right? You got the S&P 500, you got the Dow 30, you got the NASDAQ, and you got the Russell. NASDAQ is positive, but the S&P and the Dow are both down. So whatever's going on out there, and there are some people who trade the indexes that I just mentioned. Now the interesting thing about trading is that you can make money if of course, if whatever you're trading goes up, or if whatever you're trading goes down. And if you're trading options, you can make a profit if the stock price doesn't move at all. But once again, you have an exposure to events that can occur from one moment to the next. One headline can cause your profitable trade to become a loss. That's part of the risk, y'all. Part of the risk of trading. Part of the risk. I'll take a quick peek at this. Yeah. Now, when a certain segment of the British society that came over to this part of the world back in the day, before they rebelled against the monarchy, against the British monarchy, the wealthier landowners and business owners, I mean, you could imagine after they rebelled and yeah, so the Constitution and the laws and amendments and all this other stuff, they were created to protect themselves from one another. Not from the poor, not from the indentured servants, not from the slaves. Those laws weren't created to they weren't perceived as threats. They weren't perceived as threats. The real threats were from one another. And it's the same today. If you're not a multi-billionaire or a multi-millionaire, if you're the average person, you can protest all you want. You can scream and complain all you want. Now, if you become some type of influence that's starting to impact some businesses, well, now you become a threat. It's like becoming a part of a boxing club and you're brand new. You don't know how to throw a punch without hurting yourself. You're not a factor. But as you progress and you start learning how to punch, you start learning how to evade, you start polishing up on your footwork, you would become the equivalent of somebody who is starting to draw attention from the population and encouraging them to do certain things that are now impacting certain industries. Yet now, yeah, you're considered a threat. Now you're considered a threat. the disruptions and signals. Now, some people got together and protested against Target, for example. And that protest was successful. Target was impacted financially by that protest. Now, it's not prolonged. The point was made. Things calmed down. I don't know if Target recovered all of those consumers, but they did their thing to try to get back on track, get consumers. So it wasn't a prolonged thing. So it was an inconvenience, but it wasn't a threat. But it took a lot of people to come together to pose a threat. Now that's something that will catch the attention of the wealthy, because they will be concerned about their businesses. But to complain and finger point and make a lot of noise, you're just a minor nuisance. But if you start showing people how to use their power, how to use their money, and it becomes a prolonged activity, well, then you will draw some interesting attention. Well, guys, I'm gonna let you go with that. I'm gonna stay focused over here. Don't forget, guys, dress down as you're acquiring wealth. Dress down and drive a bucket. Trust me when I tell you. Stay fresh, keep it profitable, and I hope to see you guys again. So don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace out, y'all. Oh man, I just hit a bump. I think it was. All right.